Hi and welcome to the Audacity video tutorials part 2. This video will show you how to import audio, use the tools, and how to edit audio files. Now that I've saved my project and saved it into my project folder that I created on the desktop, I'm going to start importing in some audio files. There's a couple of ways of being able to do that in Audacity. I can either go to File, Import, Audio, and I'm going to choose Rob Ford Clip 1. And click Open. Now you can see it's imported in the WAV file. What you're seeing here is a sound file that is a graphic representation of sound. The highs and lows indicate highs and lows within the sound file itself. You can add multiple files at the same time. You can also drag and drop files directly into Audacity. Each time you add a new file, it creates a new track for each file. So if I go to the desktop, where my folder is. Here are my audio files. I'll do Rob Ford Clip 2 and the turntable and the snare drum. I'm just going to highlight them and drag them right into Audacity. And you can see here it has actually created a new track for each sound file that I've added. Now you'll notice that all the sound files start at the very beginning of the track on the timeline. Obviously, this would mean that each sound plays at the exact same time. Obviously not an ideal situation. Before we move things around, I'm just going to show you quickly how each track is set up. You can see across the top the name of the clip that's currently on this track and the recording settings for that particular track. There's a mute button, and you'll see it goes gray when it's been muted and you can no longer hear it, and a solo button, which means we hear only that track and it mutes everything else. To make any changes to the sound files on the tracks, we have a group of tools up here at the top. The selection tool is the one that's usually defaulted to be turned on, and the selection tool allows you to drag, to highlight, and select portions of audio. You can see if I drag across here, it is marked an in and an out point. And now these tools here become active. I can cut that section, and if I do Control Z, I can undo it. I can copy that section, and if I click somewhere else with my cursor, I can paste that section that I've copied. And again, Control Z will undo it. If I drag to select an area of the sound file again, this tool here allows me to trim the audio, which means it gets rid of everything else but that selected section. And again, Control Z will undo. Or I can choose to silence the audio in that particular section. And you can see that the WAV file is now down to a straight line, indicating there's no sound. And again, Control Z will undo. To place the sound somewhere else on the track, you turn on the time shift tool. That allows you to move sound files around on the tracks. To be able to resize the track so that you can move things around, you can either go to the line in between and drag up, or there's also a up arrow here on the side which does a default to shrink the track. We'll just bring all of those up so we can see them. And then we can move them around. I'm going to turn on my selection tool here and use just this portion of the file. I'm going to choose to trim the audio on that one so that it's nice and short. I'll turn back on the time shift tool and move this one over, and then move this one over as well. I can move them also from track to track, and when you do that, you just have to make sure that there's enough room on that track to handle the file. Be very careful when you're editing and trimming your sound files. You don't want to edit out breaths and pauses because those are natural in everyday speech. If you edit out all the ums, ahs, or pauses in your sound clips for time, your clip is going to sound very hurried, rushed, and not natural. Okay, so now you know how to add files, how to move them around, how to select sections within the file. Now what we're going to do is practice some actual editing. Now since I moved that Rob Ford clip up to here, I'm going to delete this track down here because I don't really think we need it anymore. And I'm going to import in a longer file that we can actually edit. File, import, audio, And we'll do press conference 1. And open. Okay, now that we've added the press conference file, I'm going to solo this track, so that's the only one that we can hear. And we're going to go through and find whatever clips we want to take out of this particular sound file. I'm going to place my cursor where I want to play back from and hit the space bar.
The question we asked you back in May, can you explain it?
Okay, and then I'm going to hit stop. You'll notice as soon as I hit stop, the cursor jumps back to my original start position. If you hit P, it'll pause the file. If you hit Shift plus A, it will stop the file in the new cursor position. You can also set in and out points while the file is actually running by using the left bracket key for your in point and the right bracket key for your out point. You can also zoom into the file using the zoom tool at the top, and zoom out is there as well. There's also a handy one called Fit Project. If you hit Fit Project, it will zoom out to the largest file size so that you can see all of your tracks at once. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, make it easier to see, and slide across. Now I'm going to listen to the file and see if I hear anything interesting I might like to use as a clip.
The question we asked you back in May, can you explain it?
You asked me a couple questions, and what were those questions?
Do you smoke crack cocaine?
Exactly. Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine.
When,
but
sir?
no, do I? Am I an addict? No.
When have you?
Have I tried it? Probably in one of my drunken stupors, probably approximately about a year ago.
So let's try this little part.
Do I? Am I an addict? No.
Okay, so let's am I an addict? No. So we'll just drag to highlight
Do
that.
I? Am I an addict? No. Do I?
Okay, so I'm happy with that. So now what I'm going to do is, obviously I'm taking quite a few clips out of this one sound file, so I don't want to use the trim audio option that we talked about earlier because it will delete the rest of the sound and just keep that section I have highlighted. So instead, copying is the better option. So I'm just going to copy that particular clip, come up to the track with the rest of the clips from Rob Ford, click with my cursor where I want to add it, and hit paste. And now you can see that that's been added. So I'm going to mute the press conference track and turn off solo. And I'm going to turn solo on to the track at the top. Okay, I'm just going to scroll across using the bar at the bottom and turn on our time shift tool. Move this one over and move this one over as well. Now we can play what we have on the track here and decide what we're going to use. I'm just going to turn on our selection tool.
Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine. Do I? Am I an addict? No. Am I an addict? No.
When have you?
Have I tried it?
Okay, so let's try piecing some of these together. So I'm just going to turn on the time shift tool. Okay, and just place them side by side. I'm just going to put my cursor back here at the beginning.
Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine. Do I? Am I an addict? No.
Okay, and then we'll move this one over a little bit. Turn on the selection tool.
No. Am I an addict? No.
Okay, so that is obviously a repeat. So if I move this over. Now there's a bit of repetition here at the beginning. So if I click my cursor.
Am I an addict? No.
When have you?
Have I tried it? Probably in one of my drunken stupors.
Okay, so there's a bit of repetition there from one clip to the other. So I'm just going to highlight this part right here and hit delete on the keyboard.
When have you?
Have I tried it?
Okay, so now we can just turn on our time shift tool and just slide that back over. Okay, so now if we play this clip, turn on the selection tool and click at the beginning.
Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine. Do I? Am I an addict? No.
When have you?
Have I tried it? Probably in one of my drunken stupors, probably approximately about a year ago.
Okay, so there's one finished clip. Now if I'm ready to export that out as a finished clip, I can click on the selection tool, highlight the clip from beginning to end, from the beginning of the sound to the end of the sound. Now that your audio is highlighted, we're going to export it. Just make sure that you do it from sound to sound. You don't want to highlight empty track or you're going to export dead air. Go to File, Export Selected Audio. Make sure it's exporting to your folder We're going to call it Rob Ford mixed clip, and save as type. So normally you would save it as a WAV file, which is the best quality uncompressed. If this is for the web, however, you would have to save it as an MP3 file. If you've downloaded Audacity onto your own personal computer, you'll have to download the LAME encoder that allows for MP3 export, and then hit save. The great thing about Audacity is that it comes up with a metadata window, which if you're posting to the web is very handy. I'm not going to add anything in here right now, but you do have the options of going in and changing the tags and different things you want to input. Click OK. Now, your file will be added to your folder, but if you'd like to import it in to check it, just go to File, Import, Audio, and you can see there's the Rob Ford mixed clip. And if we open it up, solo that so that you can see it, and there it is right there. So this is one sound file created out of these three pieced together. So if you like the beginning of what somebody says and the end of what somebody says, but maybe they stumble or stutter in the middle and you want to cut that out, you can do that as long as you stay true to the intent of what the person meant to say, so that your interviewee sounds a little smoother in their clips. Just remember to make them sound natural. You want to leave the breaths and pauses in there. And if you're editing parts of a clip from the beginning of an interview and the end of the interview, sometimes the tone can sound a little bit different. So it's helpful if you put in a little bit of a breath or something edited from somewhere else in the file to make it sound like a smoother transition. For information on installing the MP3 LAME encoder and exporting audio on multiple tracks, please watch the Audacity Part 3 video.